Different's great, but being different for the sake of being different, I'm not a big fan of, right? If you just want to be different for the sake of
technology increased, I would hide behind it.
And you start to hear some of their challenges, and yes,
because it speaks to the core of who you are and what drives you forward. Because what makes you different is what drives you.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Master Connector Show. I'm your co-host, Rob Genovesi, and we want to welcome you and thank you for stopping by today and joining us live here on LinkedIn as we go live every single week, Wednesday, 1 p.m. Eastern Time. And if you can't join us every single week, but look, hey, just do this. Bookmark your calendar every single week, Wednesday, 1 p.m. Eastern Time. And if you can't make it, you can't make it. But better yet, if you can't make it every week, go to masterconnector.show because you can see the roster of amazing guests that we have coming on every single week. And look, you go down that list, and if you see somebody that you need to hear from, then you bookmark that one and you don't miss that show. And the beauty about live is you come here, you're live, you get to ask us questions in real time. Get your questions answered because our guests are going to bring you their experiences, their skill set, their stories to help you level up your game so you can attain the goals that you have set before you. Masterconnector.show is going to be the place you want to go if you want to be a guest on the show, if you want to sponsor an episode of the show, any of that good stuff. But definitely bookmark us and join us every single week. And also, if you can't make it live, catch up with us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube. We're coming out there afterwards, and that way you can catch the whole show in your own time. But look, we love keeping it real. We got an amazing guest today. Sometimes I come in laughing because we're talking before we go live here, and I just get a kick out of some people got on. And when I get a real person on here, I get real excited because I'm all about the realness, the authenticity. And, that's me and Steve. We just like to keep it casual, keep it real. And this is the Master Connector Show. So get on here live, connect with people, connect with each other, connect with our guests. That way you can build your network. Connection is the key. And we're all connectors, but there's only one master connector. Let's bring him on. Mr. Steve Spiro. What's up, Steve?
Robbie G, how we doing? We doing good? Can you hear me now?
Gotcha, man.
Yeah. All right. Well, talk about being real. I've been having some tech stuff lately, but hey, this is live TV and it is what it is, right? So, excited to be here with you guys and appreciate you big time, Rob, more than you know. And especially when you pinch in for me when I freeze up and I do appreciate you.
My job.
Yeah, exactly. Well, what's going on, everyone? Steve Spiro, the Master Connector, coming at you live and direct. And I have a question for you guys. And before I get into it, I want to welcome our man, Mr. Russ Hedge, who is also sponsors of some of our episodes. Appreciate you, Russ. And Christy Miller, great to have you on here with us. I believe it's the first time for Christy, and new friend here, for me, and great to have you here on the Master Connector Show. And so we're excited. And listen, here's the thing. I have a question, right? So what if the frustration you feel at work isn't a failure, but a signal that you're simply in the wrong seat? Now, you may relate to this, you may not. I mean, I've always found a way to find joy and excitement in whatever I do. I'm probably one of those rare breeds, but there are times where, in terms of, fitting in and feeling like I find my place, and, that could be taken not just on the work side, it could be taken family wise, it could be taken in networking and communities, whatever. And for years and years and years, I was not comfortable in my own skin, and therefore not comfortable in other environments, in places where people, perhaps were feeling comfortable. I for years just felt insecure. When I walked into a room, I walked in to kind of be invisible. I'm reading the book Limitless. It's a great book by Jim Quick, Kwik, phenomenal book, by the way. And he said, so for some people, their superpower, and I think he said his was being invisible. I can relate. I'd rather be invisible for a long time because there was no way of getting hurt. If nobody saw you, nobody heard you, couldn't make fun of you, couldn't hurt you. So that was fine for a little while, but I realized, you know what, if I want to take things to the next level in my life and succeed, I'm not going to want to have to be invisible. I need to be heard. I need to find my place. And so it took a lot of self-growth, a lot of, reading and listening to podcasts and mentorship. But a big thing, and I shared with on a post I did today about this, a big part of it was my work ethic. And Rob knows this. I tend to outwork others, and I felt like that was a way I found my identity. I found my place. I found, kind of who I was, and I became proud of myself. And I said, you know what? I got confidence from the fact that, I'm working harder than most, or some cases all. And that was a way that I was able to, if you will, find my place. But you need to find your place. Again, whether it's at your workplace, because I know a lot of the folks on the Master Connector show are solopreneurs, so it may not be your workplace, but whatever it is, you're going to get a lot of value today from our show and from our amazing guests. So just listen good. And again, like Rob said, get in the comments, connect with each other. This is the Master Connector show. But I want to bring on, Rob G to bring on Tiffany. Rob G, you're amazing. I appreciate you. So type in let's go community, and let's get things rolling.
All right, let's go, everybody. Tiffany Slowinski is the owner of Team Spark Advisors and co-owner of 7 successful franchises. A former VP of sales overseeing 200 markets, she now helps businesses optimize culture and drive results by aligning talent with roles. With a master's in psychology from Columbia University and deep expertise in human behavior, Tiffany blends data with empathy to help leaders build high-performing, purpose-driven teams. She's also a mom of 4 spirited daughters and brings both insight and heart to every conversation. Please welcome to the show, Tiffany Slowinski. What's up, Tiffany?
Hi, Rob. Hi, Steve. Thanks for having me here.
Absolutely. It's an honor to have you on here. 4 daughters. Wow. That's amazing. Yes. Rob, you relate. Yeah, I know.
Girls are fun.
Then you got the token boy.
Yeah.
No token boys here. We're good.
But his daughters and son are amazing, incredible people. So, well, it's funny because the last 3 episodes we've had a lot of conversation in regards to the workplace and in terms of things that people it's sort of HR related, if you will, and not HR in the sense of what I think most people think about, but just workforce and so forth. So this is going along with that theme, but I think we're going to take this to the next level. So I want to talk about alignment, and so here's the question for you, Tiffany. Why do so many capable people feel stuck, even though they're doing everything right?
Yeah. So a lot of people feel stuck, and, workplace culture and our roles, it varies so much. None of this is like a one size fits all. We're all unique, or I know that sounds so special, like we're all unique, right? But we are all different to an extent.
Yeah.
And I can be an absolute genius in one environment and woefully ill-equipped in another. And so for a lot of people, they don't know what they don't know. So you look at young kids, they're graduating high school or college. Okay, I got to go get a job. And what do they really know? What have they ever been exposed to? Is maybe the career their parents had, some family members. Oh, that sounds fun. And they get themselves into these careers because it just seems like they have to pick something, but they don't really know where they belong or what they're good at, or they think things will change over time. And what I've learned through my work with Culture Index, and I'm sure we'll get deeper into that, is that when we could really figure out where that alignment is, where that role is, not just the industry, it's like not that difficult to figure out, like, I like fashion or I like sports. That's not that hard to figure out, but it's what role within that. There's so many different things you can do. And just because you have an interest in a topic, there's 30 different things you could do within a company, right? And so people find themselves just kind of waffling. They get a couple years experience doing something, and it's like, okay, well now I'm in it. And so my own background, I was actually a high school guidance counselor for 13 years and felt very stuck. I love the kids. I like in the early years, I really loved it. But the environment wasn't for me. Think about a school environment, all the rules, regulations. I mean, and for good reason. You can't have people going rogue in a school. There's a lot of accountability there. And for someone like me, who's, likes to do my own thing and doesn't really like to be told what to do, the love of children wasn't enough to overcompensate for the fact that I felt like I was being micromanaged.
Mhm.
And so that took until way later in my career. And even at that point, but when I left, it felt almost hopeless. Like, well, this is all I've ever done. I'm not qualified to do anything else.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, love that because that's something that you don't really get taught by and large. Certainly, it's not taught in schools. And, I was in corporate for over 25 years and a very good soldier. But as I went through, I got more and more disheartened because I was laughing when you said it, Tiffany. You're like, I hate being told what to do. That is my biggest thing. Ever since I could remember as a child, I hated it, but I was powerless until I got to a point where I developed enough skills. I was being told what to do. I was being micromanaged in the worst way possible by a tyrant in a job I was in for 14 years, believe it or not. When I got fired from there, thank God, I went to another company. It was the opposite. They literally said, do whatever you have to do to turn this department around. And I literally went rogue in a good way. In other words, if it was broke, I fixed it. If there were errors, I corrected them. If there was relationship strained, I fixed them. And that right there made me go, I know who I am. I know I need to be in there fixing stuff. And I love that you brought that up because I think people have a tendency to just do what they're told, and because somebody else knows you better than you know you, and that's not the case, right?
Yeah. So I was just listening. I listen to lots of podcasts, and I can't always remember where I hear what, somewhere on social media, but I heard this the other day. Was like, I thought I was exhausted because I had so much to do. I was really exhausted because I was doing things I didn't want to do. And so when we are busy, but doing the things that we're good at, that we're excited about. So when they tell you, do whatever you need to do to fix that department, you'll work probably round the clock. You're going to wake up on Saturday morning and be like, what can I do to fix this department? Because you're empowered and that's exciting to you. And that doesn't feel exhausting versus somebody who might say to you, okay, I want you to go into this spreadsheet and crunch these numbers. And it's like, oh, now I'm so tired because that's not me, right? Or for other people, it is them. That is exciting to them.
Yeah. My shift was from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. I would go in at 5 a.m. because I knew those 3 hours, I would get more done by the time the day started than I could just do. But, it's like you said, I did it. They didn't ask me to do it. I just did it because that's what needed to be done. And I felt amazing because of it. So great point. Great point.
Yeah. I mean, I want to chime in here a little bit. And, I speak to a lot of young folks, and there's this buzz out there, which, and I think the parents, I believe, are a big part of it, society, a big part of it, because they tell you kind of alluded to it a little bit, Tiffany. If you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life. To me, that's the biggest lie from the pit of hell. Okay. Like, come on. Like I thought I loved advertising. I had a very illustrious career, but there's a lot of things about it I hated. So, but I think you need to enjoy it. And there's many ways you could find what you can do to enjoy it. And I have a friend of mine, I think, I'm not sure if Rob knows this person, but anyway, his wife is she's a teacher and loves, like you said, loves the kids, but hated the politics, hated the fact that she made very little money and thought she would be traveling during the summer, but had to tutor during the summer because she was making so little money. So a lot of times you could love what you do, but does it get you the life you want? And so my advice is figure out where you want to go, the why, and then you could kind of backtrack the how to get there. And the biggest example is if you like, let's use Italy, and you want to get to Italy, and you also like Italian cars. The Ferrari won't take you to Italy. It's a vehicle that's really cool, but it's not designed to take you there. And so I think sometimes people they think I'm going to find something cool to do. Instead, they should be looking for something that's going to be something they can enjoy, but it was going to give them the result they want. I think ultimately. How do you feel about that?
Oh my gosh. I mean, I look back and I'm like, being part of a union was probably the least inspiring thing in the world to me, because doing a good job just meant you got more work, but no more pay ever. And I get it. I'm not arguing. I'm not taking on the New Jersey school system here. I had many, wonderful years as well. But for someone like me, who is ambitious and I like to see the fruits of my labor, you're right. You want to make more money and you're like, oh, I have summers off, but I can't afford to do anything all summer because I'm broke because I don't make a lot of money. And I always worked like 3 jobs at a time because that was me before I had kids.
Yeah.
And the truth is, where did the discontent came in really after I had kids, when suddenly I was like, I'm not working 3 jobs anymore. I want to be home. I have this great mom job that I get out at 3 o'clock. I want to go home at 3 o'clock and not have to report, somewhere else after hours. But yeah, I think it is important to look, what is the life you want to live? What is that balance? I work a ton more now. Like there's some days I fantasize about the days of being a guidance counselor where I used to go home at 3 o'clock and truthfully not really think about the role again until I got to work the next morning. I wasn't answering emails all night. I wasn't working on the weekends. Now I work round the clock. I get up 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday, but it's because I want to. And there's things that I want to get done and I want to accomplish. So when it's on my terms, working on what I want to work on because it's important to me and it's work that's fulfilling to me, might be more hours, but I am content. And it does still feel like working, but.
Absolutely. I just want to say, Christy said, employees do not realize that they are actually a business solution, yet they give away all their power doing things that make them miserable. It's a good point, Christy. Yeah, a lot to be said there. But, we're in a very data-driven world today, right? I mean, now with AI and with all this information, we're information overload. So I want to talk about this. So community, type in #data. So here's the question, Tiffany. How does using data instead of gut instinct change hiring and leadership decisions?
Yeah. So one of my clients said this the best to me. She goes, Tiffany, I wanted to think I was good at hiring. I'm so good at people and I'm just lousy at it. I just have to admit at a certain point, I'm just lousy. I've had enough failed experiments at this. And I kind of equate the hiring process to blind dates, right? To I don't know, Tinder or whatever everybody's on. I've been with my husband for over 20 years. So I haven't dated since the age of the apps, but anybody single in the last like 15 years, right? They go on an app and what do they see? The best possible version of somebody. They see the photos where they look super thin and fit and they always have a great job and they look fun and they love their mom and long walks on the beach. And then they show up on that first date and it's like, oh, a little shorter than I was expecting.
Who's that?
And we all do this, right? And in a hiring process, we do this as well. We're going to, in our resume, put our best version of ourselves together. And there's always been job coaches, resume writers for, the more elite, right? There's an expense to that. Now a little something called ChatGPT has like brought this to the masses. And I've literally done this myself. I'm curious. I put in a job post. I put in my resume. I was like, optimize this. And all of a sudden my resume is rewritten, sort of resembles me, but it is a very optimized version of me. And is that totally me, right? And so, of course, you're going to say, well, I would never just look at somebody's resume and hire them. That's why we interview them. And so, of course, next step, they're going to come in. You're going to do rounds of interviews. And, well, social people, 4 times more likely to be hired.
Wow.
Regardless of whether or not they are more equipped for the position. And dare I say, a lot of positions you don't need to be social at all for that role. And why do social people get hired? They're good at interviewing. They read the room. They connect with the interviewer. There's correct answers to some of these questions being asked. If somebody asks me, am I organized? What am I going to say? It's very clear. I'm going to tell you just how organized I am, the whole system I've put together and how I've never missed anything, right? And you're not necessarily lying, but you are trying to promote yourself in a job interview. And so it is very hard to tell after limited contact with somebody who they truly are. And that's why when I started working with a culture index and I started on the client side myself, I was a VP of sales trying to figure out how do I get better publishers. We sold local advertising and how do I get better publishers in here? When I started looking at the data points, there were traits in common of the people who were highly successful and there were traits in common of the people who struggled. And I looked at it from this point of, I don't want to bring in people who are going to struggle. It's not good for them. It's not good for us. And now I could look at data and see, wow, this person, it's not going to be 100% chance of success, but a significantly higher chance of success because I've already weeded out the noise of what they're going to tell me in an interview. And I know what their wiring is. And in that role, we needed sales hunters. We need people who could cold call, who could walk in to a business and introduce themselves and then actually follow up and actually close the deal and do all of those things and be aggressive, but still personable. And that is just a very specific person that can do that. And a lot of times it's super social people who are attracted to it. They always want to go into sales, but you're a little too social. The problem is it's not very friendly to close a deal. And so they're good at going out and meeting people, not so good at getting people to sign right on the line. But I could see this in data points, right? And so it's really just been a game changer in understanding who somebody is innately down to their core, and we can align them into the right roles. I don't want to bring somebody in for something they're going to be miserable in and also not perform well.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Tiffany, I mean, this is really interesting. I operate very largely at a gut level, but I'm not doing any hiring, so it doesn't apply there. My gut always served me well, but I'm always interested in data too, because look, there's evidence. You know, we learned that success leaves clues. So you follow the data points that speak to where does the data come from that tells you who's a better fit for the role?
Yeah. So in my instance, I'm using Culture Index. That is my tool, my data, in that I'm looking at work-related traits. I'm looking at who somebody is inherently, their level of autonomy, social ability, their pace, their detail orientation, logic, ingenuity. And so it's a combination of all of the above that makes somebody, nobody's the sum of one thing about ourselves. And Steve, I remember I surveyed you way back, probably like last year, and you kind of call yourself like this introvert who's become an extrovert. And I looked at your data, I was like, oh yeah, he's an introvert, right? But learned how to really overcome that and work through that. But most people who are going to meet you are going to immediately assume you're an extrovert because you're a master connector. You're with all these people all the time, but there is a level of that will drain you, and you need to be able to protect that social battery, because if you just go with people all the time, you're going to lose it.
Yeah. I just got to say, I love the DISC, and we may have talked about this, Tiffany. I love the DISC personality that Rob knows it well. DISC, right? Driven for D, I for inspire, S for sort of people pleaser, and then C for cautious, calculating type person. And yeah, I tend to be on the C, D side, C, DC, right? A little bit more. So I've had people that are DISC experts, and I've like, okay, after we just had a 30-minute conversation, what am I? Oh, like you're an I, you're like I'm like, and it's funny because I'm like a DC S and then 0 I, like, but they're calling me an I. So, but yeah, but I love this the tool you have, because it's spot on, and obviously, it doesn't just look at the superficial; it looks at everything for sure. By the way, I just want to welcome the amazing Yolanda on the show. Appreciate having it. She's a staple, and when we don't have a Yolanda on the show, it's not a show. Okay, so Yolanda, know that we appreciate you big time. Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's keep the ball rolling. I want to talk a little bit about, we were talking about how people act and their behavior. So community, type in #behavior. What's the biggest misconception, Tiffany, leaders have about why people act the way they do? We're kind of touching on that a little bit with this. So let's dig in a little bit.
Yeah. So there's a principal name to this. And of course, I'm a low detail person, so I can never remember that kind of stuff. But there's kind of like the attribution error, which is when we make a mistake, we assume we had the best in mind, and it's a mistake. When somebody else makes a mistake, we view it as an inherent flaw in them. And so when somebody does, in leadership, right? When somebody doesn't do something the way you wanted them to, and I find myself falling into this all the time, in my own leadership, and just having to slow myself down, I will just think things like, they did that on purpose. They made that mistake because they didn't care. They couldn't be bothered, right? And when I look at their culture index and I start to understand who they are, I'm like, no, they're just not as detailed of a person, or they move really fast. And that's where that mistake is coming from. It's not that they're trying to, that they don't care about their work, right? Or they're trying to somehow tick me off. And so we don't often understand others. We tend to look at people from a frame of ourselves.
Right.
So we view people through our own viewpoint. So like Rob, you're like, okay, I'm a gut instinct guy. And I'm actually built like that too. I just like sense it. I'm like, that's a creep over there. I know it. I don't know why I know it, but I don't trust you. And I'm not
talking about me.
Definitely talking about Steve. But you're going to view other people as they're going to make their decisions that way. And if they keep peppering you with questions and need information, you're going to go, well, this is annoying. Why are you asking me all these questions? Can't you just tell? Because you're going to view it from your own lens instead of having an understanding that they get to their decisions in a completely different way than you do.
Yeah. Steve brought up the DISC model, and, he and I both studied it. I read many books on it, been to seminars on it. It's helped me in my marriage more than anything else. And understanding those personality styles are important. And you're talking about something that's a little bit more different. And when I asked about data before, you were talking about data on soft skills, right? Not the hard skills that people can, bluster about or whatever, but these soft skills. And when you start saying things like, I immediately started thinking about the things that certain people do that I put them in a box of, I can't deal with these people. And those are people that don't acknowledge my communication. And I have to be more tolerant. I know people personally, friends, they don't do it on purpose. But like, if I comment and you don't acknowledge, if I email and you don't acknowledge, if I text and you don't just acknowledge, hey, gotcha, let me get back to you, I immediately go, I'm done, right? Because I'm so detail oriented, right? I have this almost intolerance about it. But how can two people like that, who are generally good people, work together?
Yeah. So some of it starts with an understanding of who that other person is. I had a similar instance myself recently with somebody on my team who got really upset with me. And I had honestly been going through just something personally in the week before. I was not on my A game. And I was barking a bunch of orders. And I'm real short. I'm quick moving, right? I'm direct. And I had really not been very kind in some ways. I was just being overly directive. And she finally kind of comes back to me and is like, you've told me to do all these things and you haven't said please and thank you. And I'm like, so of course I get defensive. The first thing I do is go to my phone. I'm like, I am sure I said please and thank you at least on this occasion. And on this occasion I did it. Oh, and here's a thank you there. But then I was like, Tiffany, stop being so defensive. There's also plenty of instances where you didn't, because in my head, these are just quick directions. Do I need to stop and really be like, thank you so much. That was amazing that you did that for me, right? But understanding who that person is, I'm like, it does matter to them. And I'm like an expert in this, and I still make these mistakes, is that is a person who absolutely needs feedback, particularly positive feedback. And that makes her feel secure and like she's doing a good job. And when I ignore that, I'm not helping her be her best version of herself. She certainly doesn't want to do anything else for me. I'm distracting her. And so I have to have an awareness of, yes, I get why I am quick moving and I'm direct, but I also need to know that that's what she needs. And so after that, I went to somebody else on the team and I was like, do you mind when I don't say please and thank you? And he was built completely different. It was like, I could not care at all. That would be very annoying if you sent back emails just saying thank you. I'm like, okay, so we're on the same page here. But you as a leader, you do have to adapt in a sense to who are the people on your team to bring out the best in them.
Wow. So good. You're on mute, Steve. That was really
good.
Rookie
mistake. One of the things I want to point out is in terms of the flaws. Some of my community knows that I'm dyslexic, and I kind of make some mistakes, and I like to go fast. So I make mistakes. But if you discounted me and said, you know what, this guy sucks, he's making mistakes, you're going to lose the creative side, because my dyslexia made me very creative problem solver. So I think we've learned how to we need to better. Inclusivity is used sometimes overused, but I think we need to be inclusive in terms of accepting people and their positives and their negatives. and not be so judging, because there's all sorts of other positive attributes that with those flaws comes the downside as well. But anyway, we're already at 30 minutes. So wow, this flew by. Tiffany, if you can, I would love to hear what you want, how you want to bless our community, and also what the best way for our community to reach you, if you don't mind, please.
The best way to reach me is on LinkedIn. You can look me up, Tiffany Slowinski. I actually respond when people message me, or you can email me, tslowinski@cultureindex.com. I'd love anybody who's listening. If you're curious about yourself, I'm happy to extend a free survey over to you or the people on your team that you work with. If you want to survey them, happy to provide that to any of our listeners today.
Yeah, and it's amazing, and we just really appreciate you big time. You're just a wealth of knowledge, and your tools are incredible. So make sure community connect with Tiffany. And again, thank you so much. Looking forward to doing some more with you, Tiffany, for sure. So appreciate you. Gonna have you go in the green room now. We'll close out the show. Thank you again. All right, awesome stuff. And by the way, welcome, Catherine. Great having you on the show here. She has some great things to say. Go in the comments, you could see. And Christy also shared some things. I just flew by. We had just such great conversation with Tiffany here today. But yeah, so next week we're going to be doing how to stand out on LinkedIn with Julie Livingston. It's going to be a great show, episode 247, same bat time, same bat channel. And make sure to go to masterconnector.show, and you can learn about all the up and coming shows. You can see how to, if you want to be a guest on the show, we are booked out all the way to September, but also to learn how to be a sponsor like our amazing Rush Hedge is as well. My man, Rob G, has an incredible new book that just came out. It's insightful. It's called Don't Fear the Brand, The Art of Building a Strong Brand That Attracts. Reveal how he overcame paralyzing fear to build a strong brand that 4x'd his revenue. Get the inside story and exact strategies by clicking the link in the comments now. Thank you, Rob G. Appreciate you. So I'm going to close with a quick story. Misty Copeland was told repeatedly that she started ballet too late, didn't have the right body type. And would never belong in the world of classical dance. Instead of forcing herself into someone else's mold, she learned and leaned into who she was, honored her unique strengths, and became the first Black female principal dancer at the American Ballet Theater. Misty's journey reminds us that when we find our place and own our truth, we don't just break barriers, we light the way so others can see what's possible, and that ultimately we can be the light. God bless us. See you next week.
And you start to hear some of their challenges, and yes,
because it speaks to the core of who you are and what.
And you start to hear